Need cheap coins right now? Check out redzonecoins.com. For the very best discount available, use code DIRECTOR for 20% off.
Kyoto brothers, what's up? It's the Director. Chargers fans, how's everybody doing? How's everybody holding up? Man, dude, this week, I got a fun stat for you guys. Okay, it's not fun, but it's very telling to why Chargers fans carry so much stress, okay? Since 2019, the Chargers have now lost 12 games within one score. 12 games. I don't know if my heart can take it. The Chargers drop another close game this week to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in the process, the Bolts lose yet another player to devastating injury. And despite another incredible performance by Justin Herbert, his starting status remains uncertain. God, man, it's really starting to feel like deja vu out here. Change is coming. Change must come. It's inevitable. Something has got to happen very, very soon involving our coaches. Now, this doesn't mean that we should be out here demanding heads to roll. Yes, jobs are on the line, but I think it's more of a mental change that needs to sweep over this team very soon, because the uncertainty and confusion revolving around this team's identity is holding us back. Who are the LA Chargers? What must we become to be successful in today's NFL? These are topics that we'll be going over in today's video. Now, guys, before we get started, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this video. Lights, camera, action. The season is now a quarter of the way complete. This is a very important time in a team's season. Much like in a regular season game, the game is played in 4 quarters. And with each quarter, you get to see what your opponent is doing so you can adapt. And the same can be said for your own team as well. What are the Chargers' strengths and weaknesses in this first quarter, and how do we build or change to find success in the next 3 quarters? We'll touch on that here in a minute. First, I want to talk about what we saw go down on Sunday. Now, there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of bad. Now, firstly, I want to cover the tragic injury for this week, because it seems like we can't go a week without losing at least one pivotal piece of this team. It's starting to feel ridiculous. Austin Ekeler goes down with a hamstring injury and is expected to miss the next 4 to 6 weeks. Oh my God. When he went down, I felt a huge knot in my stomach just twist. I knew this was going to be a huge blow for this team, and especially for this game, because Ekeler to me is one of the centerpieces of this offense. When I think Chargers offense, 3 players come to mind: Austin Ekeler, Keenan Allen, and now Justin Herbert, with Hunter Henry following closely behind. I felt like keeping both Allen and Ekeler on the field would be pivotal to our success this season, and for a very simple reason. Both of them just do things in this league that most players cannot. There are several plays I saw with Justin Jackson, Joshua Kelly, where I said to myself, Ekeler would have gotten the first down, or Ekeler would have slipped that tackle. Losing Ekeler is a big deal. Now, I do feel that ultimately Justin Herbert did step up and he made do. He deserves a lot of credit, but losing Ekeler is a big blow to our run game this year, and almost equally to our pass game as well. Still, we have good depth at the position, and the situation could definitely be worse. It's just that this particular injury hurt more than most would. I'm really gonna miss seeing number 30 on the field for the next several weeks. Who's gonna take his place? Now, honestly, I don't know, because Justin Jackson is an exceptional talent, but Kelly has really been balling out the last few weeks. I just think Kelly's ball security issues may have handed the job over to Justin Jackson, but we'll have to wait and see. But now, how did the Chargers do despite the injury, despite missing our best offensive lineman, despite facing up against the most lethal front 7 in football? We did very well. As a matter of fact, we thrived. This team is actually starting to look like a legitimate threat on offense, and most of that is solely credited to the absolutely incredible and almost unexpectedly dominant play of our rookie quarterback sensation. Last week, I mentioned the Chargers had a shot at winning this game if Anthony Lynn could fully trust in Justin Herbert and let him shine. And for the most part, that's kind of what happened. Now, there were a few instances where this wasn't the case, a couple of 4th and short situations that we didn't go for, continuing to put too much pressure on our defense, etc. But we saw with our own eyes what this kid can do against a dominant pass rush. I was absolutely floored by what he did yesterday. Now, Bruce Arians, head coach of the Buccaneers, did say this in his post-game conference. I told Anthony after the game, "You got a great one. That looked like Mahomes, where we had an all-out blitz and he kept retreating, then he threw a dime downfield. For rookies to make plays like that, you know they're special." Wow. We have something crazy here, guys. We really have a future star on this roster. Herbert seemed almost unfazed by this crazy pass rush attack. Several times he slipped tackles, several times he stood up and made a play. Several times he showed he would not be bullied. And he also used his full arsenal of weapons. Herbert recognized with his speedy receivers when to attack deep and understood when there was no play to check it down. He's phenomenal. And one of my favorite plays from the game, Herbert recognized a coverage mismatch. Our 6'8" tight end, Donald Parham, I've been saying Parham, it's Parham, was lined up against Sean Murphy Bunting, the Buccaneers' 6-foot corner. Herbert floats a beautiful ball to Parham. Touchdown. This was a veteran throw on a veteran decision. Just wow. On top of that, here's a duo that I hope flourishes this season. 6'6" Justin Herbert to 6'8" Donald Parham. These two can bully defenses with their size alone. I hope to see Parham get more snaps next week, perhaps in 2 or 3 tight end formations, a lot like how we used Antonio Gates and Hunter Henry at the same time in years past. Now, offensively, I will say the play calling took a step forward this week as well. I saw many more screens and RPOs trying to counter that crazy Bucs pass rush, and it worked very well. It would have worked better with Austin Eckler, but it worked, and it was a good scheme against this particular defense. And we also attacked him deep, as we should, and we succeeded. It's just crazy to see that Herbert is transforming this offense in front of our very eyes. And I think we need to double down on his talent, because this week, that translated into 31 points against the Buccaneers pass rush. That's insane, and I think it's something the Chargers are capable of on a weekly basis with Justin Herbert. Now, before I cover our defense, I did want to give a nod to Keenan Allen, who had a great day as well. That catch on the sideline where the corner clearly had position on him. Oh man, and he goes up and just snatches the ball away, getting both feet in bounds. My jaw drops to the floor. I'm so glad we paid him this offseason. Yeah, that was great. But this does bring me to some of the bad things that I did see this game. And surprisingly, it ultimately falls on our defense. This was one of the worst performances I've seen out of the Chargers in a long time. Gus Bradley seems to really have a tough time scheming against Tom Brady, because once again, he bullied his way downfield several times this game. Now, I feel the Chargers did a really good job in the first half, but once Bruce Arians had a chance to adapt, go into the tunnel in the second half, there was really no stopping the Bucs. In this situation, you hope your defensive coordinator can do the same. Look, see what's working, see what's not, adapt and make a change. But this week, it just didn't work. The Bucs scored 24 points in the second half alone to the Chargers 7. Yikes. But I do have to say that a heavy contributor to this definitely comes down to injuries as well. Remember, this defense is missing Derwin James, Chris Harris Jr., Melvin Ingram, Drew Tranquill, among many others. We look completely different than we did during training camp. And this, in conjunction with some suspect play calling, has really resulted in a disappointing start to the season defensively. Now, I like Gus Bradley. I think he's good. He's trying to work with the pieces he has. But he definitely saw more success when we had the powerhouse talents of Derwin James, Melvin Ingram, and everybody healthy on the squad. So right now, I do think he needs to shake things up a little bit. Because if anything, this week is a red flag of things to come. Next week, we face the Drew Brees-led Saints. We cannot break down in the same way we did versus Brady. Not to mention that Alvin Kamara is looking almost unstoppable this year. We really just need to find a way to get more productivity out of the stars we do have on the field in Hayward, King, Bosa, and I'll lightly touch on these guys as well. The pass rush this week for the Chargers was pretty much non-existent. I don't think we tallied a single sack this week. That and Hayward was getting beat all over the field by a hobbled Mike Evans. Something is off about the Chargers defense. We need to figure it out. We need to figure it out starting with our coaching. And speaking of which, coaching, I need to talk about this for a second. The Chargers held a 24-7 lead going into the half. But at the last moment, the Bucs pinned the Chargers deep in our own territory. Now, most of us would say, let's go ahead and kneel in this situation with a 3-score lead. But instead, we elect to run, and Joshua Kelly fumbles, giving it right back to the Bucs, which resulted in a touchdown. Now it's 24-14 going into the half. These are the mistakes that I really hate to see. Now, of course, most of this is on Joshua Kelly for not securing the ball, and maybe even a little bit on Herbert for not placing it square in his grip. But still, I expected us to come out and kneel. You must carry momentum when going into the tunnel. A 24-7 lead is worth protecting, and in this case, we squandered that opportunity. And really, I think this is the moment when the wheels started to fall off. And after that, we know the rest of the story. Despite Herbert's incredible game going 20 for 25 for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns with a late pick, we just couldn't hold them off on defense. Now, at the top of the show, I asked the question, who are the LA Chargers? Not too long ago, I would have told you this is a defense-first team with a dominant rush attack. I don't know if I feel that way anymore. And the Chargers organization needs to ask themselves this question again. Who are we? How are we going to adapt if we're going to survive this season? Because this team is changing. We are not a dominant defense anymore. I think we're above average, but the injuries have really stripped any hope of us for a top 5 defensive season. So what do? I think we need to balance things out a little bit. Because although our defense has slowly been withering away, our offense has been growing stronger each week. I think it's time that we get more aggressive offensively. Because this is something I've kind of noticed around the league. Teams with an exceptional or even elite quarterback and a high-power offense are dominating over teams with good defenses. Now, I don't know what it is or why, but that's just what's happening. It could be all the injuries, it could be the lack of crowd noise, I don't know. But this is really becoming the year of the offense, and the Chargers need to adapt quickly. Now, I'll be covering this topic in more detail in a video later this week, because this video is getting a little bit long. But until then, I want you guys at home to be asking the same question, and post your thoughts in the comments below. Who are the Los Angeles Chargers? And if you really dig deep and think about it, your answers may shock you. Well, that's all I got for this week's video, guys. It was a very tough loss versus the Buccaneers. There's a lot of good things that we can build on. There's a lot of things that we need to change. We must adapt to what we're looking at this season. What is working? What is not? Make a change. Guys, thank you so much for joining me in this video. If you did like it, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. Also, make sure to hit up the description for a link to my new merch store. I got some Stay Frosty. I got some crew shirts in there I think you guys will enjoy. And I just wanted to really thank you guys so much for your support on this channel. And thank you guys so much for joining me. Well, as always, guys, this has been The Director. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty.